Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia forecast for the next several days ahead, and a number of cold fronts are on the way. We've got one at the moment, another one in the next couple of days moving around the south, and then of course over the weekend and going into Monday we've got that polar wintry change in the southeast. Let's kick off with today's satellite map. The main area of rain is actually in the southeast, coming in around Canberra, the eastern side of Victoria and the southeastern part of New South Wales. Rain is fairly widespread in there, but it is moving along quite quickly, as I said yesterday, moving out to sea, already clearing Tasmania by now. Up around Queensland, we've got a fair bit of cloud and scattered showers here and there right across the state, but not everyone's going to get them. They're broken up with large dry areas. Also, in far north Queensland, we've got some tropical showers drifting down at the moment. That'll produce a few thunderstorms. But elsewhere, right across the nation, the skies are mostly dry, fairly sunny, just a couple of isolated showers or thunderstorms here and there, but really it is mainly dry. Let's have a look at the situation going into the later part of today. High pressure moving to the east. We've just had that cold front passing by, and like all cold fronts, the air is colder behind it. So you can see that southerly flow going all the way into northern areas, especially central parts of the outback. You're going to feel those temperatures dropping at night, especially. But mostly dry as that moves on in. We've still got showers in the east. And as you jump over to Western Australia, the warm nor'westers ahead of the cold front, and this shows the windy weather and the bright shading. So strong winds coming in from off the sea. So it's not too bad on Wednesday to begin with and going into tonight, but that's when that cold front arrives in the southwest with a burst of rain, thunderstorms, and those strong winds. Here on Thursday, you can see it more clearly. So we've put the severe weather box in there, but like I've said all week, this is at the lowest end of the scale, so don't worry too much. But it does show you the risk of a few thunderstorms, some squally showers where you get a burst of wind, and the temperature is down, although only on the coastal areas. Places like Albany and around to Margaret River, you'll feel the temperature down, but further northwards, not too bad. Eastwards, as you come into South Australia, Victoria and Tassie, the nor'wester arrives. That will ramp up, making it feel like spring. And on the eastern side, because high pressure is now moving out towards New Zealand, or at least over the southern Tasman, the northern side of that's got the easterlies coming in, all the way really along the whole eastern coastline from New South Wales northwards. So that'll produce random showers here and there, rainfall mostly below 5 millimetres. Some spots might get 10 to 20 over the next 24 hours. Going into Friday, look how fast that cold front is moving along. You might have, I forgot to mention it, but did you see that storm in the Southern Ocean? I'll go back to it, I just realised it now. 9:48, that's a really deep storm down there. So we jump forward to Friday, that storm is tracking by to the south, and we've got this severe weather box. Just like we had in Western Australia, this weather is going sideways. It's not moving up the country. And so it sort of zips in here on Friday. And again, we've got the risk of the temperature dropping. That's not really a risk, but the temperature's dropping. You'll feel that. Then you get the showers, some of those heavy and maybe some isolated thunderstorms. Also the chance of winds getting up around gale force, around Tasmania as those gusty westerlies arrive. But those westerlies ahead of it are going to clear the skies up for the eastern side of Victoria, for a time anyway, around the ACT and up around the southern or southeastern portion of New South Wales. Further up the coastline, we've still got showers, but they're also clearing northern parts of Queensland as well. So drying out in one area, getting wetter in the other, it's all kind of keeping itself balanced. So as we go into Saturday, that is when this colder airflow changes into kind of a new system. So rather than it just being one cold front zipping along eastwards, now we've got this pool of low pressure that is getting larger. And as it gets larger, it does expand further northwards. There's not a lot of severe weather attached to this, but there is snow around, and the snow level will lower over the weekend as that colder air keeps feeding on in. There isn't really a lot of wet weather around, certainly dry in Queensland, dry in the Northern Territory, and dry pretty much for all of Western Australia, a couple of very light showers around the southwest. The wet weather is really going into Victoria and the west coast of Tasmania. That's where we're going to see some heavy falls, and at the very high elevation, some snow starts to fall. By Sunday, severe weather box is back because we've got the chance of some heavy snow falling around the Victorian Alps. Now that could get down to just 700 metres, which is quite low. We are seeing some heavy rain or showers coming into Victoria, just brushing the southeast of South Australia. Elsewhere in South Australia, southerlies and a few showers, nothing too dramatic. But this area of low pressure that's forming around Bass Strait brings a bit of instability, and that can mean a chance of a severe thunderstorm. So that box, the purple box, is showing the lowest end of the risk scale, but there is some risk of severe weather going into Sunday. And the cold airflow moves further up New South Wales, so you'll feel that temperature drop in Sydney and southwards by the end of the day. Let's have a look at the precipitation type. Today I've got it right. I had the rain key on it yesterday, which might have been a bit confusing for some of you. Sorry about that. Here's the animation from 10 o'clock Friday night to 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, Eastern time. You can see a little bit of snow on the very tops of the mountains and the tops of the ranges, or the highest elevations of the plateaus around Tasmania. So let me animate this. Timestamp is here. It's in New Zealand time, so just take off 2 hours for you on the eastern side. And you can see the snowy sort of areas come and they go. It's not overly dramatic here. But as we go through into the Sunday period, that's when the snow level lowers in the southeast corner of the mainland, and that's where we could be seeing some snow flurries getting down into some of the highways and some of the smaller communities that are in those areas. And then it kind of carries on going into next week, but it does start to taper off. The snow flurries aren't going to be huge. The moisture levels aren't that great in most places, but we do see a couple of pockets of some heavy falls here and there. So it's just worth keeping up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology and any mountain, alpine, ski, snow forecast that they put out. All right, let's move into Monday now. So this is what I'm talking about, this area of low pressure forming just off the eastern side of Sydney, Canberra area. That could produce some heavy rain coming into Victoria, which is under this polar airflow. So it doesn't take very much to go up above sea level when it does start to get very cold and that rain turns to sleet or a mix of rain and snow, and then even higher above that, snow properly sets in. So this could be some heavy falls around. Like I say, look, just because I'm talking about it doesn't mean that it's an extreme event. And just because we're focusing on it doesn't make it so. But the reason we're talking about it is because it's a little bit unusual based on, to get heavy snow that lower down. Now, whether or not it's going to be a major problem for you, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, it doesn't look like a major event, but it does look like a cold event. So if you're a farmer and you've got livestock out there, something to be aware of, maybe more so than those of you in Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, where it's just going to be a bit of a cold day and not necessarily dramatic for you. Going through to Tuesday, you can still see this heavy rain coming up, getting close to sort of the Sydney area. This is where the modelling at the moment is picking 60 millimetres. Don't lock that in yet. There is a lot of confusion with the modelling about what's happening out around the Tasman. But we do have a chance here on Tuesday of further heavy rain and snow because you're still under that polar airflow. Similar story around Tasmania, although there is high pressure nearby to you. And then you jump over to Western Australia, here is the next cold front. So this could feel, the southeast, it still feels like winter, but Western areas and maybe South Australia, that feeling of spring arriving because you're having these cold events followed by warm events, and that's kind of how spring is defined. As you go further up into Queensland, the Northern Territory, and the top half of Western Australia, very little to talk about. So we do have some snow around, some colder air. My main focus on that is really for those of you who love skiing, for those of you driving or biking anywhere in the mountains, and especially for the farmers with livestock, because wind chill doesn't have to be snowing, but when you're in that borderline zone of snow being around and it's wet and it's cold, that can be really tough, especially for newborn livestock, and we're kind of at that time of the year for some areas. That's all from me. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the comments on YouTube. I'll see you again tomorrow.